Shotguns are among the most powerful and most effective close-range firearms you can get. They are certainly the most versatile. Whether you are hunting, defending your home, or competing, nothing beats a good shotgun. If shotguns have a drawback, though, it is that they tend to be long and unwieldy. Effective at close range doesn't mean easy to maneuver at close range, unfortunately. Unless, that is, if you get a bullpup. Bullpup shotguns are becoming increasingly popular with shooters today, and with good reason. I'll tell you about those 6 reasons in this video, including the surprising truths that no one else does. Grab a box of shells and we will get to it. Better ballistics in a shorter package. Longer barrels, to a point, mean greater velocity. That's the way it is with all guns, and that certainly applies to shotguns. There's a reason why duck and goose hunters typically choose guns that have extra long pipes measuring 24 inches or more. Every extra bit of speed matters when you've got to reach up there on a quickly moving target. Velocity may be less of a concern for tactical and defensive shooters, but don't kid yourself, it still makes a difference. Bullpup shotguns have a big advantage here because you can get more barrel in a shorter overall package. Because the barrel is moved back further, deeply recessed into the stock or receiver, you give up nothing in the way of velocity without turning the gun into an unwieldy blunderbuss that's difficult to raise and swing, much less transport or steer through doorways. Savvy shotgunners also know that the advertised velocity on commercial ammo, be it birdshot, buckshot, or slugs, is provided assuming that it will be fired through an 18-inch or 20-inch barrel. All bullpup shotguns available on the market today have at least an 18-inch barrel, providing that advertised velocity with no problems. If you want to take a traditional gun and make it even shorter for home defense or entry work, something common on police shotguns, when you start shortening the barrel, you start giving up velocity rapidly. On average, going from an 18-inch to a 14-inch barrel means you'll lose about 100 feet per second or a little more depending on the load. And velocity starts to fall even faster if you go shorter than that. Better capacity without the bulk. The length efficiency advantage for bullpup shotguns also applies to those that feed from a traditional tubular magazine. You can have a standard length tube holding 7 rounds without unduly increasing the length of the gun. Moving the stack of shells to the back also improves balance, something we'll talk about in a minute. This attribute bears careful consideration for folks who are serious about maximizing their skills with a shotgun. There are plenty of pros who only want a 5-round tube regardless of barrel length because adding more weight up front and more weight in total from additional shells starts to seriously upset the balance of the gun. This must be balanced against having enough ammo on board to handle the task at hand, be it clearing a course of fire or dealing with intruders who have broken into your house at 0 dark 30. With a bullpup, you don't have to choose between adequate firepower and size. I've got a lot more to tell you about bullpup shotguns and why they are so great, but before we move on, do me a big favor and hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video so far. Those 2 clicks help us out here at the channel more than you know, and by doing so, you'll always get a notification whenever we upload a new video. Thanks so much! Having more weight to the rear is an advantage. Bullpups, as a concept, tend to catch hate from rifle and carbine shooters because of their awkward balance. Most of the weight is to the rear, and this changes how the gun is brought to the shoulder, swung, and manipulated for crucial operations like reloading. I'm not a huge fan of bullpup rifles for this reason, and to tell you the truth, I understand this complaint from other shooters. However, I found that having a little more weight to the rear instead of way out front like we talked about is actually a huge benefit for shotguns, especially when it's time to reload. That's because, regardless of discipline, most reloading methodologies for shotguns work better, meaning faster and surer, when the gun is broken down out of the shoulder. Dropping the buttstock to the crook of the shooting arm elbow and cradling it makes the process a lot easier, but with a traditionally configured shotgun, the shooter now has to handle all that weight hanging out in space. Not with the bullpup though, because the center of gravity is so much closer to the rear, meaning directly over the shooting side forearm and near the elbow. It's just physics, folks. It's a lot more comfortable and easier to maintain longer with less fatigue. Bullpup triggers aren't great, but that's less of a concern on a shotgun. Another constant complaint you'll see leveled at bullpups generally, and it's another one that has teeth, is the fact that they have nasty, mushy bushy triggers. This is because bullpups must have a long drawbar that connects the trigger all the way back to the sear and other fire control components, which are now far behind it, elsewhere in the receiver. There's no two ways around this, and it is the rare bullpup indeed that has a nice, crisp trigger. This is another huge drawback for the bullpup design as a rifle, but as you might imagine, it's not so important for a shotgun, which is used almost exclusively at close range. Yes, a better trigger is always a better trigger, and always a component that will facilitate good shooting, but if you're shooting buckshot or birdshot, managing a slightly spongy, long trigger pull is easy enough to do while ensuring a good hit. Hand stops are a must on most bullpup scatterguns. The short overall length and slightly altered ergonomics of bullpup shotguns means that the support hand is typically much closer to the muzzle. On some guns like the Kel-Tec KSG and KS7, it can sometimes be uncomfortably close. If one were to slip or get in a hurry and overshoot the runway when getting the support hand on the gun, touching off the next shell might prove an amputational event. Now, full disclosure, this isn't a problem that is unique to bullpup shotguns. Lots of tiny long guns, including submachine guns like the MP5K and Mini Uzi, have greatly abbreviated forends that bottom out perilously close to the muzzle. But this is a known issue, and so smart shotgunners will correct it by installing a hand stop of some kind on their chosen gun. Some manufacturers take care of this for you. The KS7, for instance, has a huge flange at the front of the pump to keep the support hands safely in place even when you're running the gun hard and fast. Some shotguns like the IWI Tavor TS12 locate the barrel significantly higher than the forend, which also happens to be the magazine cluster, to provide a margin of error. Note that this isn't just a problem for pump-action shotguns. Things happen, accidents happen. Even with a semi-auto shotgun, you might slip, come up, be bumped, trip, or just screw up under life-threatening stress and accidentally run your support hand a little too far out. Accordingly, no matter the type of bullpup shotgun you have, and no matter the action, make sure you've got some provision for keeping your support hands safely in place up front, assuming there isn't one built into the gun. These guns are truly ideal for home defense. I've said for ages now that the only thing that beats a shotgun at close range is a flamethrower. And when it comes to home defense, a flamethrower will prove to be really hard on your homeowner's insurance policy. Bad jokes aside, there's a reason why the shotgun has been the undisputed king, the standard for keeping your castle safe from all intruders. Inside the tight confines of a building, most of a shotgun's disadvantages are minimized, and its advantages are maximized. A barrage of buckshot at near distance is among the most destructive things you can inflict on the human body. And in both police and military service, to say nothing of countless analyzed self-defense shootings, shotguns have proven over and over again to stop fights decisively with even a single good hit. If you're shooting down a long hallway, the spread on the shot package, so not as much as most people think, still improves your chances of securing a hit in the first place. No matter how you slice it, a shotgun is just a lot easier to shoot well than a handgun. And this is doubly true during a high-stress situation, which is destined to be the worst day of your life. But where most shotguns start to fall apart in a home invasion scenario is when you have to start moving around with a shotgun. As mentioned, even a standard 18-inch barrel traditional shotgun is very long and unwieldy. You've got to be highly trained to safely maneuver such a gun through doorways and around corners without tipping your hand or possibly getting the gun taken away from you. It's a dangerous dance, to be sure. Bullpup shotguns, in my experience and substantial training, completely eliminate this issue. A typical bullpup, complete with stock and a full load of 7 shells or even more, is about as long as a pistol grip only shotgun like the Mossberg Shockwave or Remington TAC-14. I know which one I would rather have when the chips are down. The greater balance and superior weight distribution also make these guns easier to handle with one hand, even on an interim basis, if you have to open a door, grab a child, or run a phone or flashlight with your other hand. In short, the gun won't be fighting you as much when you already have enough problems and unknowns to manage. I don't care how you feel about bullpup rifles, I can tell you that bullpup shotguns are the no questions asked king of the hill for home defense. You should definitely get one. Okay, I think that covers everything you need to know about bullpup Bullpup Shotguns, including some surprising truths that others won't tell you. Let's cut to the chase and head to the comments. I want to know what you think about Bullpup Shotguns. Do you like them better than traditional shotgun designs, or is old school the only way to go for your scattergun? Let's talk about it, and before you run, please remember to hit like and subscribe so you can keep up with everything we've got going on here on Guns You Can't Live Without. Thanks so much for watching, stay safe out there, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye for now.